The air on planet Kareen 5 was thin and cold. Strange glowing plants covered the ground like soft blue fire. The ruins of an ancient city stood silent, half buried in sand and mist. Commander Elias Gray, a human explorer from Earth, walked slowly through the broken stone gates. His boots made a crunching sound over the cracked tiles. Every step echoed through the lifeless city, like ghosts whispering in the wind. Behind him, a small alien girl followed. Her name was Leary, a young Avenian, a species known for their bright silver eyes and feathery hair that shimmered under light. She was only 15 human years old, but she was clever and curious, always asking questions. "Commander," Leary said softly, her voice trembling a little, "why do you humans come to dead worlds?" Elias smiled under his helmet. "Because sometimes dead worlds have secrets the living forgot." They were part of a joint expedition, humans and aliens working together to recover ancient technology lost thousands of years ago. Kareen 5 was once the heart of an old interstellar empire, long before humans even learned to leave Earth. But something about this planet felt wrong. The scanner showed strange energy pulses, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Elias turned on his wrist communicator. "Base, this is Team Delta. We've entered the inner ruins. No life signs yet, but there's something moving. Feels like the walls are humming. Static." No reply. Leary stepped closer to a giant stone door covered in glowing marks. They looked like writing, symbols spiraling outward like waves. She blinked. I don't understand this script." Elias frowned. "Our translators can't read it either. The language is lost." He reached out and brushed the dust off the carvings. For a moment, the symbols glowed brighter, like reacting to his touch. A soft hum filled the air. Leary gasped. "Wait," she whispered. "It's singing." The humming turned into faint voices, echoes of words that didn't belong to any known tongue. The sound was beautiful, haunting. Elias froze. The hairs on his neck stood up. "That's impossible," he muttered. "No one has heard this language in over 50,000 years." Leary tilted her head. "Commander, are they saying something?" He didn't know why, but the sound started to make sense in his mind. Not as words, but as feelings. Sadness, hope, a call for someone to return. His heart began to race. Without thinking, Elias whispered, "Terran Ishvel." The air exploded with light. The symbols flared golden and the stone door cracked open, revealing a long tunnel filled with floating dust and faint blue light. Leary stared at him, eyes wide. You spoke it," she gasped. "You spoke the lost language of our ancestors." Elias blinked. His voice trembled. I don't know how. The words, they just came to me." Leary stepped back, her hands shaking. "That's not possible. Even our elders can't speak it. That language was banned by the Galactic Council ages ago. How can a human—" Before she could finish, the tunnel walls started to vibrate. The glowing symbols began to rearrange themselves, forming new patterns, almost alive. A deep voice echoed through the ruins, calm, ancient, powerful. "The child of Earth has answered the call." The ground shook violently. Sand and stone fell from the ceiling. Elias grabbed Leary and pulled her back as the door fully opened. Inside, a massive chamber came to life. Floating holograms of ancient cities filled the air. Ships of light, giant towers, stars collapsing into darkness. Leary's voice was shaking. "Commander, what is this?" Elias looked at the hologram of a human figure standing among alien kings. "I think," he said slowly, "this world remembers us." The deep voice spoke again. "The bloodline has returned. The one who remembers the first tongue shall awaken the legacy." Leary stared at him in disbelief. "You mean humans were part of the ancient ones?" Elias didn't answer. His mind was spinning. The lost language of the stars. The ancient cities. The connection between humans and the forgotten empire. It all pointed to one impossible truth. Maybe humans weren't newcomers to the galaxy. Maybe they were the ones who started it all. He looked down at Leary. "We need to tell command, now." But before he could reach for his communicator, the voice whispered again, this time directly inside his mind. "Do not call them. They are not ready." Leary froze. "Commander?" "Who said that?" Elias looked around the glowing chamber, heart pounding. "I think," he said quietly, "someone, or something, just woke up." The light faded into silence. Only the ancient symbols still glowed faintly on the wall, pulsing like a heartbeat, and far away in the shadows beyond the ruins. Unseen eyes watched them, waiting. The silence in the chamber was heavy, almost alive. Commander Elias Gray stood frozen, his heartbeat echoing in his ears. The glowing walls pulsed softly, matching his breath. Beside him, Leary trembled, her silver eyes reflecting the faint light of ancient symbols that seemed to watch them back. "Commander," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Who was that voice? It knew you." Elias didn't answer right away. His gloved hand brushed the floating hologram still flickering in the air. Visions of towering alien cities, ships made of crystal, and beings speaking the same strange language he had just spoken without understanding how. "I don't know," he said finally, "but it called me the child of Earth." He looked at the symbols again. It said the bloodline has returned. What if humans were here before? Leary's feathers fluttered nervously. "That's impossible. Humans came to the stars only a few hundred years ago. The first empire fell 50,000 years before that." Elias turned toward her, eyes sharp. "Then why can I speak their tongue, Leary? Why do these ruins respond to me?" She had no answer. The air around them seemed to grow colder, as if the ruins themselves were listening. They moved carefully deeper into the chamber. At the center stood a giant stone pillar covered with circular carvings, glowing faintly blue. The symbols danced like living fireflies, rearranging themselves into new patterns every few seconds. Elias reached out, but before he could touch it, Leary grabbed his arm. "Wait, don't touch it again. The last time you did, the whole city woke up." He smiled faintly. "Then maybe it wants us to wake it again." Ignoring her warning, he pressed his palm against the stone. The room filled with blinding light. Leary covered her face, crying out, but Elias didn't move. The light didn't burn him. Instead, it wrapped around his body like soft mist. He could feel something, memories that weren't his, voices whispering from beyond time. To those who carry the seed of Earth, remember what was lost. The voice was neither male nor female. It spoke directly into his mind, calm, powerful, ancient. "You are the echo of the first flame, you must remember." Elias's knees trembled. Visions flashed before his eyes. Humans walking beside alien beings, building cities among the stars, teaching languages that sang through the air. He saw war, then silence, then dust, and then nothing. He gasped and stumbled backward. The light faded. Leary ran to him and caught his arm. "Commander, what happened? Talk to me." He was breathing hard, eyes wide. I saw them. The first ones, humans and aliens together. They spoke the same language, and the one I said? The first tongue. Leary looked at him in awe. "You mean the legends are true? The first tongue was real?" Elias nodded slowly. "More than real. It's a key. It can wake things that were meant to sleep forever." Suddenly, a loud hum filled the chamber. The stone pillar began to split open like a blooming flower. Inside was a sphere, floating, glowing with golden light. It was small enough to fit in Elias's hands, but it pulsed like a living heart. Leary gasped. "What is that?" Elias stepped closer, mesmerized. "A memory core, or maybe something more." As he touched it, the sphere reacted, floating into his hands. Strange symbols appeared on his wrist device, data streams in the lost language. The translator failed instantly. Leary's voice was trembling. "Commander, this isn't allowed. The Galactic Council forbids anyone from activating ancient tech without permission." Elias smiled faintly. "Then they'll have to stop me." Before Leary could argue, the sphere emitted a sound, soft and musical like a heartbeat made of song. The air shimmered and a figure began to form before them, a hologram made of golden light. It was a woman, human. Her eyes glowed bright white, and her hair floated as if underwater. She spoke in the lost tongue, but somehow Elias understood every word. "You have awakened the echo chamber. I am the keeper of the flame. If you hear this message, then the galaxy has forgotten who built it." Elias stared in silence. The hologram turned to him, her gaze piercing. "Human child, you should not exist in this time. Your kind was wiped from the stars before memory began." Leary stepped forward, shocked. "That's not true. Humans are everywhere now, in colonies and fleets." The keeper's face softened. "Then the cycle begins again." Her voice trembled like a sigh of wind. Beware the council. They hide the truth. They fear the ones who speak the first tongue. Before either of them could speak, the hologram began to fade. The legacy is waiting. On the world of Theron Prime, seek the Temple of Dawn. There you will find the truth of your bloodline. The sphere dimmed and went silent. Elias and Leary stood there, stunned. The ruins around them grew quiet once more, the glow fading into soft darkness. Leary looked up at him, confused and afraid. Commander, the council told us humans were newcomers, that you were late to the stars. But she said you were here first. Elias clenched his fist around the now dark sphere. She said the council is lying. If that's true, everything we know about galactic history is false. He looked toward the tunnel they came from, shadows moving in the distance. His communicator crackled back to life for the first time since entering the ruins. Commander Gray, this is base. Unknown ships detected entering Careen 5 orbit. You need to evacuate immediately. Elias's heart sank. He turned to Leary. They're coming for us. Leary's feathers glowed faintly under the dim light. Commander, what will we do? Elias placed the sphere into his suit compartment. His voice was steady, filled with quiet resolve. We find the truth, no matter what it costs. Far above them, through layers of mist and dust, alien ships began to descend, silent and dark, like predators circling their prey, and in the ruins, the ancient symbols pulsed once again, faint but alive. The galaxy was beginning to remember. Dust storms twisted across the ruins of Careen 5. The red sun hung low, painting the broken city in bloody light. Commander Elias Gray and Leary ran through shattered streets as ancient towers crumbled behind them. The air trembled with the roar of engines above, dark alien ships slicing through the clouds. The transmission still echoed in Elias's helmet. Unknown ships detected entering orbit. Evacuate immediately, but it was too late. They were already surrounded. Commander, they're closing in, Leary shouted, pointing at the horizon. 3 black craft swept down like hawks. Their hulls were covered with strange symbols, not of the council, not of any known race. Elias gritted his teeth. Stay close, Leary. Whatever happens, don't let them take the sphere. He touched the pocket on his suit. The glowing orb pulsed faintly, almost like it could hear him. Leary's silver eyes flickered. It's reacting to the ship. Before Elias could reply, beams of light shot down, tearing through the ground where they had just been. The explosion threw them off their feet. Dust and fire filled the air. Run! Elias shouted. They dashed through the ruins, jumping over cracks and broken stone. Leary stumbled and Elias grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. Behind them, robotic soldiers began to emerge from the ships. Tall, black-armored machines with glowing red visors. Who are they? Leary gasped. Not council. Something worse, Elias said. They ducked into a collapsed temple, the same kind of ancient structure they'd explored earlier, its walls still marked with the strange glowing symbols. Elias sealed the door behind them and took a deep breath. The orb inside his suit began to hum again. Leary, he said. It's doing something. The girl stepped closer. Maybe it's trying to protect us. The orb floated out of his chest pocket, hovering in the air between them. Golden light filled the temple. Suddenly, the hologram of the Keeper reappeared, the same glowing woman from before. They have found you, she said calmly. The shadows of the council. They come to erase what remains of the first flame. Elias's voice hardened. You mean those machines? The Keeper nodded. Yes, they were created long ago to destroy all traces of the ancient language. Even now, they serve those who fear its return. Leary clenched her fists. But why? It's just words. The hologram turned toward her gently. Words can shape worlds, child. The first tongue carries power, creation, command, control. To speak it is to touch the energy that built the stars. Elias stared in silence. Then that's why they're hunting us. The Keeper's image began to flicker. You must reach the Temple of Dawn. Only there can you unlock the full truth. But beware. The language lives within you now. It will call to those who hear. The hologram vanished. Elias clenched his jaw. Then we move now. Leary nodded, though fear glimmered in her eyes. Temple of Dawn. That's on Theron Prime, right? He checked his wrist console. Yes, 2 systems away. If we can reach the ship, we might make it. Outside, thunder rumbled. The machines had found them. The temple walls shook as metal claws tore through the roof. "Go!" Elias shouted. They ran down the inner corridor, a long stone passage leading to the lower levels. The machines followed, their red lights cutting through the smoke. As they ran, Elias pulled a plasma grenade from his belt and tossed it behind them. The explosion echoed like thunder. The walls collapsed, blocking the path for a few seconds. "Nice throw," Leary said breathlessly. "Don't thank me yet," Elias replied. "They'll break through soon." They reached the underground hangar, a half-buried chamber where their exploration ship, the Horizon, was parked. Its hull was scratched but still functional. Elias activated the ramp. As they climbed aboard, the orb pulsed again, much brighter than before. "Commander," Leary said softly, "I think it's guiding us." Elias sat at the controls, starting the engines. "Then let it." The ship roared to life. Dust and debris blew away as the engines powered up. Just as the hangar roof started collapsing, the Horizon blasted into the sky. Above Careen 5, the battle wasn't over. The dark ship spotted them immediately and gave chase. Plasma beams streaked past like burning comets. Elias twisted the controls, dodging between clouds and lightning. "Hang on," he shouted. Leary clung to her seat, eyes wide. "They're faster than us." The orb floated from the console, glowing wildly. Suddenly, strange symbols appeared on the ship's screen, the same as those in the ruins. The controls shifted on their own. "What's happening?" Elias shouted. "I think it's flying for you," Leary said. The Horizon jerked upward, diving through a storm of energy. Lightning struck the ship, but instead of damage, it absorbed the power, glowing brighter. The orb hummed louder, like it was singing to the stars. Then silence. The pursuing ships vanished from the radar. Space around them shimmered, and the stars stretched into long lines. Elias's eyes widened. "It just jumped us through hyperspace. On its own." Leary looked at the glowing sphere in awe. "It saved us." The orb slowly dimmed and settled back onto the console. The screen showed new coordinates, Theron Prime. Elias leaned back, exhausted but amazed. "It's taking us where we need to go." Leary smiled faintly. "Maybe it knows more than we do." But deep inside, Elias felt uneasy. The voice from before still echoed in his mind. "The language lives within you now." He didn't understand what that meant, until the ship's computer suddenly spoke, in a voice that wasn't programmed into it. "Elias Gray, your awakening has begun." Leary froze. "Commander, that's not the ship." The lights dimmed. The orb pulsed once more, brighter than ever. And then, for the first time, Elias heard words in his own head, clear and ancient. "You carry our memory. Do not let the stars forget again." He looked out the window, then at the endless stretch of space and whispered, almost to himself, "Then I'll remember." As the Horizon vanished into hyperspace toward Theron Prime, far behind them the black ships regrouped. Their leader, a cold machine with glowing red eyes, turned toward the planet and transmitted a single message. "Subject Gray has activated the flame. Begin the hunt." The chase had only begun. The stars bent around the ship as the Horizon exited hyperspace. A pale blue planet filled the window, Theron Prime glowing softly under two white moons. From orbit it looked peaceful, but peace, Elias Gray knew, could be the quiet before something terrible. Leary leaned closer to the glass. Her silver eyes widened. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I didn't know a world could shine like that." Elias didn't reply. He was scanning the surface. The sphere, now silent, rested beside the control panel. Its once bright glow had dimmed to a faint heartbeat of gold. He muttered to himself, "Temple of Dawn. If that's real, it should be somewhere near the equator." Leary frowned. "Commander, how do you know it's real? We only saw a hologram. What if it was just some ancient recording?" Elias smiled faintly. "Then we'll find out if ghosts can lie." They landed on a ridge overlooking a vast jungle. Old stone towers peeked through the fog, ruins again, but different this time. These were taller, cleaner, and glowing faintly even after thousands of years. As they stepped out, the air smelled of rain and metal. Strange birds circled above, their wings leaving trails of light. Leary tightened her jacket. "Feels alive here, like the planet is breathing." Elias nodded. "It remembers." They began walking down the slope toward the nearest ruins. The path was broken and covered with vines, but the markings on the stones were the same as before, the language of the ancients. Leary touched one of the symbols. These lines, they look like energy veins. Elias crouched beside her. No, not just veins, circuits. This whole place might be a machine. As if reacting to his words, the ground beneath them vibrated. The air shimmered. For a moment, Elias thought he saw shapes moving in the mist, tall, glowing figures watching them silently. Leary stepped back, fear in her eyes. "Commander, did you—" "I saw them," he said quietly. "Don't look back. Just keep moving." By midday, they reached the heart of the ruins, a massive stone gate carved into a mountain face. The door was covered with spiraling symbols and a golden sun emblem. "The Temple of Dawn," Elias whispered. Leary tilted her head. "It feels holy." The orb in Elias's hand began to glow again, brighter with every step. As he approached the door, the carvings started to move, shifting like living patterns. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming a sentence in the first tongue. Leary stared in awe. "It's speaking." Elias could understand the meaning without translating. "Blood remembers the light. Speak and enter," he hesitated. The last time he spoke the language, an entire city woke from death. Leary looked at him nervously. "You have to say it again, don't you?" Elias took a deep breath and whispered, "Taranveleshnar." The gate trembled and golden light burst through the cracks. The air was filled with a deep hum like the heartbeat of a planet. Slowly the doors opened. Inside was a vast hall, rows of crystal pillars stretching into the dark. Between them floated faint images of people, humans and aliens side by side, frozen in shimmering light. Leary gasped. "Are they alive?" Elias shook his head. Echoes. Memories of the first ones. As they stepped deeper into the hall, the orb floated ahead of them, casting a soft glow. The echoes began to move as if noticing their presence. Whispers filled the air. Gentle, sorrowful, ancient. Then one of the holograms turned to face Elias. A tall figure with human features and glowing eyes. "You've come home," it said in the first tongue. Leary took a step back. "It's talking to you." Elias swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "We are what remains of the first flame. You carry our memory, but you are not yet whole." The figure raised a hand, and the air shimmered with images. A vast human empire stretching across galaxies. Humans teaching the first tongue to other species, creating peace through knowledge, and then war, betrayal, and silence. "The council was born from fear," the voice continued. "They turned on us, erased our words, destroyed the legacy. Now they hunt what they once were." Elias's eyes widened. "You mean the council was human?" "Human once, but no longer." The words hit him like thunder. The council, the rulers of the modern galaxy, had always claimed to be a coalition of many species. But if they began as humans who betrayed their own? Leary whispered, "Commander, that means—" "Your people destroyed the stars." Elias didn't speak. He just stared at the glowing figure. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "To remember," the figure said softly, "and to choose. You can rebuild what was lost, or burn again." Before Elias could respond, the light flickered violently. The ground shook. From outside the temple came the sharp roar of engines. Leary's eyes widened. "The ships, they found us." The hologram's voice grew faint. "The shadows come. Protect the flame." The hall collapsed into chaos. Dust and fire filled the air. Elias grabbed the orb as debris fell around them. Leary screamed as the floor split apart, separating them. "Leary!" Elias shouted. She reached out, but the ground beneath her gave way and she fell into darkness. "Commander," her voice echoed, then vanished. Elias tried to jump after her, but the structure was crumbling. He turned and ran toward the exit, clutching the orb. Outside, the sky burned with light, black ships descending through the clouds. He whispered under his breath, "Not again." The orb pulsed once, as if answering. "Protect the memory. Find the lost one." Elias looked back at the collapsing temple, at the place where Leary had fallen, and his heart twisted with fear and guilt. He climbed into a small hovercraft hidden near the ridge and started the engines. The black ships closed in, firing beams that tore through the ground. The Temple of Dawn exploded behind him, sending a wave of light into the sky, bright enough to be seen from orbit. And for a second, Elias thought he heard Leary's voice in his head. Don't give up. I can still hear the song. His eyes widened. She was alive. Somewhere deep below the ruins. Elias gripped the controls. Hold on, Leary, I'm coming back. As he sped into the storm, the orb began to glow again. Not gold this time, but white. A new voice whispered from within it. The flame has been divided. To awaken it, you must reunite what was lost. Far above, in the darkness of space, the leader of the Black Fleet watched the explosion with cold, red eyes. He has touched the temple, the machine said. Begin the purge. No witnesses. The hunt for humanity's forgotten legacy had entered its deadliest phase. The explosion from the Temple of Dawn still burned across the sky when Commander Elias Gray vanished into the storm. His hovercraft darted through falling ash and lightning, each flash lighting up the wreckage below. But his mind wasn't on survival. It was on Leary. Her last words still echoed in his head. Don't give up. I can still hear the song. He gritted his teeth, eyes locked on the radar. You're alive, kid, he whispered. You have to be. The descent Elias landed his hovercraft near the ruin's edge, where cracks in the ground glowed faintly from the blast. The soil trembled under his boots, and a deep hum rose from beneath, a rhythm too steady to be natural. He knelt, placing a hand on the ground. This planet's heartbeat, he murmured. It's alive. The golden orb, resting in his chest armor, began to glow white again, brighter than ever. Show me where she is, Elias said quietly. A beam of light shot downward, carving a spiral of symbols into the dirt. Then the ground split open, revealing a tunnel of glowing veins descending into darkness. Elias took a deep breath and stepped inside. The tunnel walls pulsed with light, almost breathing. The deeper he went, the warmer it became until his suit sensors started to flicker. The orb floated out of his armor and guided the way like a small sun. At last, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern, an underground world glowing with blue mist and golden streams. In the center stood something enormous, and a stone heart, bigger than a mountain covered in ancient runes, and there, lying near its base, was Leary, the awakening. Leary, Elias ran forward, dropping to his knees beside her. She was breathing, her skin faintly glowing with silver light. When he touched her hand, a shock ran through his body. Not pain, but energy. Her eyes fluttered open. Commander, she whispered weakly. The temple. It spoke to me. Elias frowned. You heard it too? She nodded slowly. It said the world is dreaming. It wants to wake up. Before Elias could reply, the massive heart behind them began to beat. A deep, thunderous sound that shook the entire cavern. The ground cracked and bright veins of light spread outward like rivers of fire. Leary's voice trembled. It's alive, Commander. The planet itself. Elias looked up at the beating heart in awe. No, not just alive. He pointed to the carvings. Those are the same symbols, the first tongue. The orb floated toward the heart and merged into one of the glowing veins. The entire chamber brightened. Then a calm voice filled the air, the same tone that had spoken to Elias before. You have entered the heart of Theron. Here lies the flame that once lit the stars. Elias stepped closer, his voice steady. What are you? A machine? A god? We are neither. We are the memory of creation. The first flame gave life to the ancient ones, to humans, to the Avenians, to all. Leary sat up slowly, eyes wide. Then every species came from the same source? Yes, but fear divided them. The flame was shattered and the council was born from the ashes. Elias clenched his fists. So they destroyed the truth, to hide where we all came from. The voice softened. The language you speak, human, is the flame's breath. It can heal or destroy. You were chosen because your blood still remembers. Leary looked at Elias in awe. You mean he can control the flame? No one controls it, the voice said. He carries it. The heart pulsed faster, the light spreading through the cavern. The air vibrated, and from the walls ancient figures began to emerge. Not holograms this time, but beings of light, half human, half energy. They surrounded Elias and Leary in a circle. Each spoke in the first tongue, voices blending into a deep chant. The sound felt alive, every word sinking into Elias's chest. He gasped. His body glowed faintly as symbols appeared on his skin, the same ancient marks from the ruins. Leary covered her mouth. Commander, Your body, it's changing. Elias fell to one knee, struggling to breathe. What's happening to me? The flame recognizes you, the voice said. You have spoken its name, and now it awakens within you. The glowing figures faded, leaving behind silence and a strange peace. The marks on Elias's skin dimmed but didn't disappear. He stood shakily. If this is power, it feels more like a burden. Leary smiled weakly. Maybe both. The message from the heart's surface, a bright crystal, rose and floated toward them. Inside it, images flashed of a galaxy on fire, fleets of ships, and a council emblem splitting into fragments. The council knows the flame has awakened, the voice warned. They will come with weapons of silence, machines that erase memory and voice alike. If they succeed, the flame will die forever. Elias looked at the crystal in his hand. Then we fight. You cannot fight them with war. You must unite the divided. Only the song of all species together can awaken the full flame. Leary frowned. Unite the galaxy? Commander, that's impossible. Elias smiled grimly. So was surviving Careen 5. The voice faded into a whisper. Follow the trail to the city of glass. There you will find others who still remember. The cavern started trembling again, this time violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling as a rumble echoed from above. Elias's communicator came alive with static. Commander Gray, this is base. Do you copy? Unknown fleet entering Theron orbit. Hundreds of ships. Leary gasped. The council's here. Elias grabbed her arm. We need to move now. The heart behind them pulsed once more, sending a surge of light that formed a glowing pathway leading upward, a way out. They ran through the tunnel, chased by falling stone and fire. Just as they reached the surface, the sky above Theron Prime exploded with flashes of light. The council fleet had arrived. Elias turned to see the orb reforming in his hand. Its voice whispered faintly, The flame is with you, child of Earth. Do not let them silence the song. He looked at Leary, determination burning in his eyes. Then let's make them hear it. As the first ships descended, Elias and Leary climbed aboard the Horizon, engines roaring. The battle for the galaxy's forgotten truth was about to begin. Thunder rolled across Theron Prime's sky as the first Council warships descended. Their black hulls reflected the fire of the burning clouds. From orbit, the once peaceful planet now looked like a battlefield. Inside the cockpit of the Horizon, Commander Elias Gray tightened his grip on the controls. Leary sat beside him, her eyes glowing faintly with silver fear. Commander, there are too many of them, she whispered. Elias's jaw clenched. Then we don't fight them head on. We make them chase us. He flipped a switch and the ship's engines roared to life. Dust and fire burst behind them as the Horizon lifted off from the glowing ruins. But the Council fleet had already locked on. A robotic voice echoed through their comms. Elias Gray, you have violated Galactic Code 01, Forbidden Knowledge. Surrender the artifact or be erased. Leary's feathers stood on end. They sound cold empty, Elias smirked. That's what fear sounds like when it wears armor. The escape. The Horizon darted between laser blasts, diving through the atmosphere. The Council ships followed like a swarm of black wings. Elias's hands moved fast across the controls. But the orb, glowing again, suddenly floated toward the navigation screen. New coordinates appeared on the map. A city in the northern desert, the City of Glass. Leary pointed at the screen. That's where the flame told us to go. Elias nodded. Then we go. Hold tight. He activated the ship's boosters, sending them into a sharp climb through clouds of burning debris. Explosions lit up the sky behind them, but the orb's white light cut through the chaos like a guiding star. Finally, they broke free from pursuit. For now, below them, the endless golden desert stretched for miles, shining like metal under twin moons. And in the distance, glittering towers of crystal rose from the sand. The City of Glass. Leary whispered, It's real. Elias stared in wonder. And alive. The City of Glass, they landed near the city's edge. The towers hummed softly as if welcoming them. Every wall shimmered with moving symbol, the first tongue, alive and glowing. As they walked through the entrance, the light around them shifted, forming shapes, human figures made of glass frozen mid-step. It felt like walking through a dream. Leary touched one of the figures. They're not statues, they're preserved. Elias looked closer. Preserved by the flame. Maybe this city was built to protect its last speakers. The orb floated ahead, lighting a path toward the center, a massive dome glowing gold. Inside the dome, a tall crystal throne stood surrounded by holographic screens, and sitting upon it was a man, human. His skin was pale as marble, his eyes bright red, and his uniform bore the emblem of the Galactic Council. Leary froze. "Commander." That's Elias raised his weapon.
Who are you?
The man smiled, calm and cold. "I am Lord Sarek Gray, Supreme Executor of the Council." The name hit Elias like a thunderbolt. His weapon lowered slightly. "Gray?" Sarek nodded. "Yes, I carry the same blood. The same name. Our ancestors once spoke the first tongue, and then chose to bury it." Leary gasped. "You're related?" Elias's voice hardened. "You're lying." Sarek stepped down from the throne, his boots echoing on the glass floor. "Am I?" "The Council's founders were not gods, Elias. They were humans, our family, who chose silence over fire. They feared what the flame could do." Elias glared at him. "They erased history. They destroyed the truth." Sarek's red eyes glowed brighter. "They preserved the galaxy. Do you have any idea what the first tongue can do? One word can change gravity. One phrase can stop time. The last time it was spoken freely, entire worlds burned." He took a step closer. "And now you've awakened it again." Elias clenched his fists. "It was never meant to be forgotten." Sarek smiled faintly. "Then you will die remembering it." The dual energy filled the room as Sarek raised his hand. The glass around them twisted, forming blades of pure light. Elias drew his plasma rifle. But the ground itself rose up like water, striking at him. Leary screamed as she was thrown back against the wall. Elias dodged, firing at Sarek, but the man's movements were too smooth, too controlled. Every word he spoke reshaped the world around him. "Karvel Ishtar." The air solidified, trapping Elias in mid-motion. He struggled, but invisible chains bound him. Sarek walked toward him, eyes burning. "You see, little brother, the flame listens to our blood. You have the gift, but no control." Elias's mind raced. The words Sarek used, they were in the first tongue. The same voice the ruins had whispered. He remembered the chant from the heart beneath the world, the words carved into his skin. Slowly he whispered them through clenched teeth. "Taranvel, Eshnar." The room exploded in light. The chains shattered, throwing Sarek backward. The air rippled like a broken mirror. Leary fell to the ground, covering her eyes. When the light faded, Elias stood free, his body faintly glowing with golden marks. His voice was calm, steady. "You're right, Sarek, the flame listens to us. But it chooses who it obeys." Sarek snarled, rising to his feet. "You don't understand what you're carrying. The flame isn't power, it's memory. And memory destroys those who remember too much." Before he could strike again, the orb floated between them, glowing brighter than ever. A powerful voice filled the chamber. "Enough. The blood of the flame shall not fight itself." Both men froze. The light from the orb spread across the walls, revealing the faces of ancient humans, their ancestors. "Elias Gray and Sarek Gray," the voice continued. "You are both bound to the same origin. One seeks to remember, the other to forget. But the galaxy will need both if it is to survive." Sarek's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" "The flame cannot be reborn through one. It requires unity, of light and shadow, of memory and silence." Elias looked at his brother. "Then it's time we stop destroying what we don't understand." For a long moment, silence filled the hall. Sarek's expression softened, not with peace but with pain. "You don't know what's coming, Elias. The flame's awakening will bring more than truth. It will bring them back." "Who?" Elias demanded. Sarek looked up, his voice almost trembling. "The ones who made the flame." The orb pulsed sharply, sending a wave through the city. Outside, the sky above Theron Prime cracked open with light, not from ships but from something larger, older, awakening beyond the stars. Elias's heart pounded. "What did you do?" Sarek whispered. "I didn't do anything. We both did." The sky burns from orbit, the Council fleet turned its weapons toward the planet. But before they could fire, massive rifts opened in space, releasing colossal shapes of light and shadow. Leary ran to the window, her voice shaking. "Commander, those aren't ships." Elias looked up, eyes wide. "They're alive." The stars themselves seemed to move. Ancient beings, half energy, half light, were returning from the void, and in the center of it all the flame pulsed like a star being reborn. The sky above Theron Prime burned with white fire. The stars twisted as enormous shapes tore through the void. Not ships, but beings of light and energy. They moved like living constellations, their forms shifting between human and something far greater. Every pulse from their bodies echoed across the planet like the beating of a divine heart. Elias Gray stood at the shattered window of the city of glass, staring in disbelief. "They came back," he whispered. Beside him, Leary trembled, her silver eyes reflecting the cosmic light. "Commander, what are they?" His brother Sarek, still half crouched on the glass floor, answered softly. "The Makers. The first ones who created the flame. The Council was built to keep them from ever returning." Elias turned sharply. "And now they're here because of us." The orb that had guided them all this way floated between them, glowing fiercely. The voice that had followed Elias since Kareen 5 spoke again, calm but heavy with meaning. "The circle of flame is whole once more. The memory of creation has awakened." Elias's chest tightened. "You mean they're alive again?" "Not alive," the voice said. "Awakening. Their return will burn away all false history, all lies, until only the truth remains." Sarek stepped closer, eyes red with worry. "And that truth will kill billions." "You don't understand, Elias. The flame doesn't choose sides. It remakes everything it touches." Elias shook his head. "Then we guide it. We don't run from what we were meant to be." Outside, the sky split open. The beings' voices filled the air, not in words, but in harmony. A song so beautiful and terrible it made the planet tremble. The glass towers around them began to hum, vibrating with the same frequency. Leary clutched her ears. "It's too much. They're calling to you." Elias could feel it. The same language that had haunted his dreams, the same rhythm that had spoken through the ruins. The first tongue, the flame was speaking through the stars. He closed his eyes and whispered the ancient words that had first opened the ruins on Kareen 5. Taran vel Eshnar. The sound merged with the cosmic song, and suddenly he saw everything. He saw the past, humans walking beside the Makers, building worlds together. He saw their fall, greed, fear, betrayal. The moment when humans turned away from their creators and tried to hold their power alone. He saw the birth of the Council, made not to rule but to forget, and now he saw the future. Fire, light, and rebirth. He gasped, staggering. "It's not just power, it's memory itself." "The flame remembers everything." Sarek reached for him. "Elias, stop. If you join with it, there'll be nothing left of you." But Elias stepped forward, the golden symbols on his skin glowing brighter than ever. "Maybe that's the point." Leary grabbed his arm, tears in her eyes. "Commander, please." "There has to be another way." He looked at her, this alien girl who had followed him through fire, who had seen the truth and still believed in him. "There is," he said softly. You carry the new song now. If this works, you'll teach them what we were. All of us." The orb pulsed brighter and brighter until it became a miniature sun. The ground shook. The city of glass began to crumble as the Maker's song reached its peak. Sarek screamed over the roar. "You'll destroy yourself!" Elias smiled faintly. "No, I'll remember for all of us." He stepped into the light. The orb dissolved into his chest and a golden blaze erupted around him. His body lifted from the ground, surrounded by symbols of fire. The song of the Makers flowed through him, and for the first time the galaxy's lost language was truly alive again. "Child of Earth," the voice whispered, "you have chosen remembrance." His last words before the light consumed him were quiet, but Leary heard them clearly. "We were never lost. We just forgot." The explosion was silent. A wave of pure light spread across the planet, racing into the sky and across the stars. Council ships froze mid-flight, their weapons falling quiet. Every screen, every communicator, every machine across the galaxy flickered with the same message. A sound that all beings understood, no matter their species, the first song. Then, just as suddenly, it was gone. When the light faded, Theron Prime was quiet again. The sky cleared, showing stars brighter than ever before. The Makers had vanished, their forms scattered like dust into the cosmos. Leary opened her eyes slowly. The city was in ruins, but peaceful. She stumbled forward to where Elias had stood. There was no body, only a circle of molten glass still warm, glowing faintly gold. In the center of it lay the orb, dim but still alive. Sarek stood beside her, silent. His eyes were no longer red, only tired. "He did it," he said quietly. "He gave it back to them." Leary held the orb gently in her hands. "No, he gave it back to us." From the orb, a final whisper came, faint, fading, but clear. "The song belongs to everyone now. Remember who you are." A single tear rolled down Leary's cheek. She looked up at the stars, her voice trembling. "I will, Commander." Years later, the story of Elias Gray spread through the stars, a human who spoke the lost language and gave the galaxy its memory back. The council fell. Worlds that had once fought began to speak the same ancient words again, not as weapons, but as hope. And on quiet nights, when the stars aligned just right, travelers swore they could hear a faint voice in the wind, the same words that started it all. Taran vel Eshnar. The flame still lived, not in machines or gods, but in the hearts of every being who remembered, and somewhere beyond the edge of known space, where the light of the Makers still shimmered faintly, a lone voice whispered back, calm, human, eternal. We remember.